Jordan Peterson was right. Oppression was never just women. But you will hear women all the time going on and on and on about how they're still being oppressed. But here's the reality. Many ethnic groups have been oppressed throughout the centuries, including men. And in this video, I'm going to go over the 7 ways men have actually been oppressed throughout the centuries and in many ways still being oppressed today. So I know you're going to find this video very helpful, and especially when you're having conversations with women about oppression. All right, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kane. I'm the Silver Bachelor. This channel is 100% dedicated to dating advice for older guys and the women that want to understand them. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification button because I'm dropping videos every week. Woo! Okay, so yes, Jordan Peterson was right, and that oppression was never just about women. So let's get into this right away because I have a lot of notes, and I'm going to go over the 7 ways men have been oppressed throughout the centuries and are in some ways, depending on which point I'm talking about, are still being oppressed, okay? So number 1, forced military service, mass conscription, all right? When there were times of war, men were legally required to fight and die, not women, okay? If you were a man and you refused, you were either going to go to prison, you were either going to be executed, or you'd be exiled, okay? Women were, and even to this day, are exempt everywhere. Maybe some countries have some requirements for women, like in Europe, but I'm talking about North America specifically. All right. Number 2, disposable labor and dangerous work. It's always been women and children first. Men are disposable, okay? To make my point, men have dominated risky jobs even to this day. They've dominated anything general labor, manual labor work up until the 1900s before machines were made, and it was 90% of men's jobs. If you didn't have that job or take a job that was manual labor, you'd basically starve to death, okay? And men still do 90% of all the risky jobs. So for example, mining, construction, logging, shipbuilding, death and injury rates are extreme. And opting out of these type of jobs for a lot of men means starvation, okay? So number 3 way that a man has been or is being oppressed, legal obligations without reciprocal rights, okay? Men were legally obligated to provide. They were punished for failure in providing. They would go to jail or they'd have a debtor's prison. Fathers often had no custody rights and no say over children despite the responsibility. And this is a good segue into number 4 in terms of the number 4 way that men were or are being oppressed, okay? No reproductive rights. Yes, there are states in the United States that don't allow abortion, but I'm talking about men specifically here. Men could be forced to support children that they didn't want. So imagine you're married and she wants to keep the child, but you don't want to keep the child. You have no, by the way, fathers in a marriage, a man that's married to a woman has no rights over her body at all, even though they're married. Isn't that insane? He can't say, look, it's better we don't have the child, or he can't say, I want the child. She can go ahead and abort it or do whatever she wants with her body in the states that allow this. And I think that's crazy because if you're married, you're considered one person essentially. And if you leave that marriage, most men are on the hook for 50% of all their assets. So that's also a form of oppression, okay? So men cannot opt in or out of fatherhood. But yet women complain about their rights, but yet men have no rights, okay? So the uncertainty of paternity is a way that men have been oppressed, okay? Women at least have some kind of reproductive certainty. They can choose to keep the child to a degree. Maybe they will have a miscarriage, but they can essentially choose for abortion. Not in all states, but in some states, especially Canada, they can. And they can choose to either keep the child. Men have no choice over that at all. And they have control, women have control over pregnancy outcomes. Men have no control over that. Number 5, criminal justice and punishment bias, okay, against men. Men receive harsher sentences, more executions, more corporal punishment, more judgments against them. And women are more apt to receive leniency because they're a woman. All right? That is another way men have been and continue to be oppressed. Number 6, emotional and social suppression. Men are taught, don't cry, endure, man up, so forth. Psychological suffering is being ignored. There are more men that are homeless than women, and more men that are suffering from their relationships, from prison, and also there's a huge chunk of men, I don't know the percentages, didn't research this part, that are dealing with depression, okay, and mental health issues. And suicide rates, by the way, are historically and are today far higher for men than women, and especially after a divorce. I think it's 7 times the chance of a man committing suicide after divorce. So there's another example of oppression previously and still going on today. Number 7, status without security. Men were granted conditional value, okay? You matter if you produce. If you fail, you are discarded, okay? This still is happening today. Men have no value unless they're producing something, giving back to society, earning an income. Otherwise, they're regarded as trash or dusties, as some women call it, okay? And as Jordan Peterson often has summarized, men are valued for what they provide, women for what they are. Yes, women's value only comes from this: the fact they're a woman and the fact they have a vagina. Men have to do way more to show value and prove value than a woman ever has. All right. Appreciate watching, and I welcome your comments in the comments, and let me know what you think. All right. We'll see you next time.